to another episode of Connect with Jennifer Aaliyah. So I am very happy to have Troy here, and we're going to have a great discussion about connections. So, Troy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started doing what you do?
Actually, I got started out of a need. So previously, I owned an IT company called ISO Interactive, and we did a lot of stuff like a bunch of Coca-Cola websites, Xbox mobile stuff, gamification. We even did a Harry Potter virtual world just for fun, and we had like hundreds of thousands of people on there and stuff, and it all was going pretty well until it wasn't. So I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia, and there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies here, and they come here mainly for the tax breaks.
Hmm.
So at a certain point, those corporate style companies no longer used a lot of the agencies, and we were all of a sudden out of work because most of our work came from the other agencies, and it was pretty desperate because it was like, oh, what are we going to do now? We can't get work. They don't want to work with us. Our friends, that we were getting work from are now our enemies because the type of work we did was a little beyond what they could do, and they didn't want to lose what work they had. And so I talked to a couple of buddies. One was had an agency similar to my development agency. Another one was a bona fide sales guy. And I was asking them, how are you guys doing business? And I was talking to the one that had an agency similar to mine, and I said, and his name was Feta. I said, Feta, my work is much better than yours. How are you getting this business? I was just razzing him so I can get the right answers out. And he says, it's all about relationships. I work on LinkedIn and that sort of thing. I said, that LinkedIn thing, you mean the stuff where they have all the resumes and stuff, right? And that's really what I thought LinkedIn was at the time. And I realized that I was what we call a terrible dater, like in real life and in business. So, and I was really great at systems, but I was awful at everything else because I'm very blunt. So I'm very straight to the point, and I'm a go-getter to try to get things done and solve people's problems. And so I had to figure out the formula for dating and old fashioned, just to be clear, old fashioned dating, right? And so the principles of old fashioned dating is just helping that individual or getting to know them. And so we develop methods where you don't sell, you actually engage and you network with people. And if you can help them, you can offer that. But a lot of it is really about just solving that individual pain. And so we built a whole company around it. It was called Return Client, and then we revamped that to the Troy Agency maybe about 5 months ago, and it was the best thing ever. So we tighten our criteria up to work with like-minded individuals, and so that's kind of where I'm at right now with the Troy Agency, and it's going great.
That is great. So, who do you serve through your business?
Well, typically it's anywhere between the solopreneur up to a company under 50 employees. Anything beyond 50 employees, they tend to have their own systems, and it's a lot of red tape to get past in order to help them. They're kind of ingrained into the current systems. This includes a lot of coaches, CPAs, IT companies, anyone that has a high value product. A lot of B2B, but if you count high end coaches, that's kind of B2C, but you get what I'm saying. If you have a high value offering and you want to convert on LinkedIn, those are kind of those are kind of the I wouldn't say easiest ones to work with, but they usually have that same helping coming from a place of service mindset.
Yes. So, this show is all about connections, and I always ask my guests, what does connections mean to you in your business and your life?
Oh my goodness. I think the right connections make a big difference, and
Hmm.
it's all about deeper relationships. So I think during the pandemic and maybe slightly before, I did a turn, I did 180, and I realized that I don't need a lot of connections. I need the right connections, and that's the big difference. So even a lot of the people that I know, I no longer talk to them. sometimes because they may not be the right friends in your life. And so I took the same principle with business as I take with friends. I said, I'm here to offer help. And if you're like-minded, I want to be around you. If I can learn from you, or if I can help you get where you need to go. And I treat my friends the same way. And it's probably the best decision I've ever made in my whole life.
Hmm. Yes, I think that there is the evolution you need to go through between, everyone has to be my friend and I need to like have as many friends or connections or whatever, both in business and in life.
Hmm.
And then realizing that
Hmm.
it really is the ones that are there for you the most and align with what you're doing and are going to push you the furthest that really you need to stick with. And the rest, not that you have to burn bridges, but they just
Yeah.
don't need to get your attention.
Well, time is finite.
Yes.
We're on this planet a very short amount of time. Your money's not. You always can make more money, but you can't make more time. So,
Yes, I say that all the time. That they say time is money, but time is worth so much more than money. You can never
yeah.
make that up.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is why we agree on so many things. We had to do a show together. So, um, what would you say to someone I'm sure you meet people like this too, that come in and say, well, really what I need is 100,000 followers. I need 20,000 connections or whatever, and that's when my business will work. Like, what would you say to them about quality versus quantity and how to know how to get quality connections?
Well, I think when someone comes to me, they have to be able, I would have to take them on only if I can help them convert, right? And when I mean convert, I'm not necessarily talking about clients. I'm talking about with their business. It's pretty interesting because I probably would not take that client, to be honest with you. I had a meeting yesterday with someone. They said, "Oh yeah, I got this other program. How much is your flagship program?" I says X amount. Is yeah, you seem like you know a lot of these things. I have this program here. What if I quit this program and went with yours? And I told him no,
Hmm.
because you have to really think, do I take the money and get this trouble? And the trouble flag that came up, not the fact that the person's a bad person at all, okay? Want to be very clear. But if they just started something and they invested something and all of a sudden you're just giving them advice, it's like, you know what, you probably know better than these other people. But if they switch boats after they made an agreement with something else, um, the relationship may be problematic.
Yes.
And my goal is to take you on if I can make you successful, not to take your money because then you run into all sorts of a shady area that you want to avoid. My goal is to help that individual. So what I did, which was the positive part, is I said, look, I told them it's not about systems per se.
Hmm.
So if using this software or that software with this method and that CRM and that stuff, those are the mechanical workings. But 80% of the decisions made are if they know, like, and trust. And people hear it all the time. They get tired of hearing it. But look, if they believe you,
Hmm.
your product is secondary to yourself, especially on LinkedIn. And so if they believe that you can get it done, that's really what it is. So the client also has to understand it's not about the mechanical systems. They have to look beyond that. That yeah, that may be 25% and it's a support type thing. But in order to have these things work well, you have to have it based on actually helping other people. And that's real business. Let's say, for example, they say, well, why are you helping all these people for free, right? Well, I had a 30-minute conversation with him and I gave him my day-to-day process. And I said, this is something that will help you out. You guys select this and this and this videos. And I kind of walked them through better ways to convert. But the day-to-day process is not a mechanical thing. It's something that will force you to know about the other person. It forces you to really have deeper relationships. And so those things is the bigger that's the bigger picture. And you have to understand that bigger picture is the base. So they say, well, how can you help? Why do you want to help people for free, right? Well, if you have a 15-minute meeting, it's 15 minutes of your life, and you help someone, you put out good energy in it out in the universe. You feel good, because I don't know why. When you help people, you feel good. I don't know why it's that. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know, but it's true, and they feel good, and you have a more positive, like, you move on. You know, that's one possible result. If you help someone, the second item is they implement what you do, and they look to the left, they look to the right. They said, "Oh my goodness, there's 20 other things that I don't want to do. I need Troy's help, or I need Jennifer's help to make that happen." And they hire you. And what is the
Hmm.
third option? The third option is you have a ticket you can pull, and this ticket is, so it worked for you. And now what I would want you to do is, and you can ask for a favor. You got to think about that strategy. They said, well, this helped you. I want you to run me an introduction to this person or this person, or do you know someone that you can run an introduction? Because if someone runs an introduction, someone else tooting your horn is much more powerful than you tooting your own horn. It doesn't matter how good you are. And so I rely on that method
Hmm.
of just helping other individuals to solve their problems. And I don't worry about sales.
Yes. And I think it comes down to that no matter what, word of mouth is still going to be the best advertising you can do. No matter
Oh,
what apps come out there or how high tech things get, still even on social media, the vanity numbers are that just that vanity numbers. But if you can have whatever connections you have and they are fans of yours and
mm-hmm.
they talk positively about you and they share your stuff with people and introduce people, that is so much more powerful than having a million followers. Because you could have a million followers and nobody knows, likes, and trusts you really. They're just following you and they don't
Mm-hmm.
really have much to say about you, right? So
Well, especially if you are dealing with high value services, like high ticket items. And just to define for the audience, what I think a high ticket item is, like anywhere between $1,000 a month residual up to $1 million project. I mean, of course, you need longer than that, but if you're an IT company and that sort of thing. And so these are residual numbers that require that kind of attention. It's not a widget. It's a
yes.
relationship. And so that's how that works. And that's why those things are important. Of course, if I did have a million followers, I would make a lot more money. but that is a different business model, than the personal relationship. I know friends that have 3 or 4 million followers, and they don't have to do much, but they have a whole entirely different business model, and 99.99% of us, we don't have millions of followers, and so we have to um, be more human to
Hmm.
others, and actually offer things that are beneficial to that individual,
Hmm.
versus a mass group of people.
Yes, and serve them well no matter how many followers you have, right? It's not
Right.
just about the numbers, it's about how you serve them. So it has been great to have you on here. I
Oh,
really have appreciated the conversation and how we have a very similar perspective on LinkedIn and marketing. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? And
um,
how can they connect with you?
Well, they can connect with me on my profiles, my first name and last name. So just look me up. It's Troy Hippolito, Hipolito. My father's Asian, so I got that name. I was teased as a little kid, Hippolito. And then they said, aren't you supposed to be fat? It's like I was a really little kid. The second thing is, if they go to my profile, feel free to book an appointment, 15 minutes. And if you got a problem, I'll see if I can solve it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank
we
you.
will definitely keep in touch and have to have more conversations in the future. So
Yep.
I highly encourage you to get in touch with Troy and take him up on his offer. And I will see you again next week for another episode of Connections